Hi, kitty cats. Politics, at least in the United States, is heating up recently as two viral videos show conservatives hoisted with their own misgendering petard. But misgendering, in English anyway, is not a political statement. It's simply a misuse of language, an artifact of Latin that is far from universal in human communication. So once again, we have conservatives making an empty gesture to prove they're full of hot air. All right, well, I am Amethyst Herrick. I am an author and a podcaster. You can check links below here for more information about me and the work that I do. One of these links that comes up is going to be my personal website, amethysta.io. You can find all of the social media networks I'm on, and you can follow me there for, updates on everything I do. My professional website, at least right now, is genderidentitytoday.com. I'm saying right now because I'm doing a rebranding. Ooh, maybe something new will come out in the next month. All of my articles on my podcasts are published there, as well as work from other contributors. So if you like this content, I hope you will consider subscribing at genderidentitytoday.com, because a subscription, you can get that for as low as $2 a month. And if you would like to contribute content, actual content, to Gender Identity Today, please contact me through my personal website contact page. And finally, the last link that'll come up is a link to coffee.com. If you'd like to send me a tip, do it as you see fit, and I would love it, so thank you so much. All right, I'm going to say hi to people here. First, I'm seeing Matt. Hello, Matt, and thank you for the gift. George Ferguson, interesting point. No, I am not a Democrat. No, I am registered independent, but bad guess, I guess. Genevieve, good to see you. Erica, good to see you. Mischief, hello, good to see you. As well as Louise, hi. Oh, and Emily, hey there. Hey, Emily. All right, let's talk about recent misgendering in politics. I saw two examples in the last couple of weeks even. The first one was possibly the funnier one. It took place in Wyoming state government, where Tim French, who is in the Wyoming state government, obviously, was misgendered by a citizen. So this citizen had called in and called Tim French Madam Chairman. And her point, the point of the person calling in, was that French had voted for a bill claiming that preferred pronouns are not compelled speech. So nobody can be compelled to use your preferred pronouns. Nobody has to respect them whatsoever. Now, Tim French became visibly huffy about this. He even said the words, my preferred pronouns are. And the caller had to remind French of his recent vote that preferred pronouns are not compelled speech. Tim French looked a little, sheepish at that point. So that's one. The other one is in the federal government. Just recently, it was in this past week, in a House of Representatives hearing, Sarah McBride from Delaware was misgendered by the chair, Keith Self. So he's from Texas, Sarah's from Delaware. So McBride heard the misgendering. She was called Mr. McBride. You can see her go, and then mumble back to Keith Self, "Thank you, Madam Chair." So she was trying to fight back, but that fighting back was overshadowed by another representative, Bill Keating. And unfortunately, I forget where Bill Keating is from. Bill, if you're out there, let me know. But Bill Keating came to Sarah McBride's rescue, says, "Can you redo that introduction?" And you can see Keith Self visibly uncomfortable, both with his initial misgendering and when he was asked to do it again. And you can see him become more and more uncomfortable, just kind of shifting in his seat, holding a piece of paper. We established a thing on the floor, and he became more and more uncomfortable when called out and shouted at for being indecent. And what was great, then this guy ends up going, "You know what? I'm just the flying fuck out of here." Adjourned the hearing entirely and bolted. Bolted? Maybe what he was doing was wondering, is he going to stake re-election on this? I don't know. So it's funny, in my opinion, to see conservatives put in their place. Are pronouns really the hill that you need to die on here? Are you going to stake your re-election on it? And honestly, all it does, truly what it does. Oh, thank you. So Erica Foreman says Bill Keating is from Massachusetts. Thank you. All this does, all this misgendering claptrap in politics today, all it does is demonstrate a profound misunderstanding of pronouns as a feature of language. So let me get into that. Why is it a profound misunderstanding? Let's talk about how gender actually appears in language. But before I do this, let me check comments because I got some. So Margie is here. Hi, Margie. Good to see you as well. Annette. Hey, Annette. Good to see you. Representative McBride is doing a good job. She keeps on getting sort of dumped on for trying to play the game the way the game is intended. And I know people are sort of like, look, don't play the game. And I understand that. And then I kind of go, but you really have to play the game on the terms. So where did I say? Okay, so Emily says she's a Democrat. Cool on you. Patty Wu. Hello, Patty. Good to see you. Patty Wu says she loved seeing Representative McBride's Madam Chair. It was hilarious. Matt Adland here, which by the way, hi Matt, says this is the job of allies, to hold the others like us to task. I agree with you. And let me keep going, because let's see what happens here. Let's take a look at language. Looking at language. Everybody knows I kind of love language and grammar and etymology and stuff like that. There are really two forms of gender that you find in language. One is called pronomial gender. Sorry, you didn't know there was going to be a test, huh? Pronomial gender. And these are third-person personal pronouns, right, that refer to an object's gender. I just said object. That object does include humans. Like for us, it's he, she, him, her. But pronomial gender can also refer to inanimate objects. It doesn't have to. When referring to animate objects, they typically refer to observable sex characteristics. Realize what I'm saying is not assign sex, because we don't assign sex strictly to much other than humans when it comes down to it. Yeah, sure, we can say, your cat has a gender. Donnie Boy, yes, stick around. Donnie Boy says, well, hold on, objects have gender? Stick around, let's hear about this. Jeff says, a man trying to teach us about English, lol. Not sure where the man is, and apparently you're such an expert on English. Maybe you should be doing this. So there are also many languages in terms of pronomial gender that only use gendered pronouns when referring to an animate object. So somewhat interesting. The other form of gender in language is called grammatical gender. And so this is where you have nouns as well as adjectives that refer to an object's gender. And again, including humans. There are some languages in which verbs also refer to the subject or the direct object's gender, once again, including humans. But there are objects that don't fit into this. And I'm going to talk about flowers and radios. These are things you don't look at and immediately observe sex, or gender for that matter. So languages can fall into three categories. There are languages that have pronomial gender only, languages that have pronomial and grammatical gender, and then you have languages, actually, that have neither pronomial nor grammatical gender. Somewhat interesting. Maybe you go, yeah, give me some examples. Oh, I would love to. Here we go. Pronomial gender only is, English is a great example of this. If I say the sentence, he sat in the green, let me try that again. He sat in the green chair. He is gendered. Chair is not. Green is not. And maybe you go, yeah, no kidding. Well, let's look at a language that has both pronomial and grammatical gender, like say French. He sat in the green chair. Il s'assit sur la chaise verte. Il, he, is gendered. Chaise is gendered. It's feminine. Vert, the adjective, green, is gendered to match chaise. Crazy. Then there are languages that are neither pronomial nor grammatical, have gender pronomial or grammatical, and that includes most East Asian languages, including Japanese and Chinese. A European version of this, there are Uralic languages, including Finnish and Hungarian. And in Asian languages, typically you have pronouns that are dropped, they're just plain dropped grammatically. So this brings up, of course, some questions here. And I don't know, maybe Donnie Boy, you'll have a good time with this. How the hell does Hungarian have no gendered pronouns? Because the pronoun is it. And you tell the gender of something, if it's even important, by its context. And this works because language, for the most part, doesn't require gender. I've spoken a lot of words just in 10 minutes, and very few of those needed to be gendered, right? So now you can ask the question, well, how the hell does Japanese not use pronouns? Once again, you tell by context. And Japanese also has a system of modifying verbs, or, well, they're called particles. It has a system of modifying the language to indicate social status. So it's not exactly pronouns. Particles are not exactly pronouns, but they can be gendered, at least in part based on status, especially relative to the speaker. So this has to do with social norms, and I'm going to return to this. So stand by here, Donnie Boy. And then you might ask the question, how the hell, why is a chair feminine? There's apparently completely random assignment of gender to nouns. And even then there are examples of nouns that span gender. I took Spanish in high school, and I remember like a substitute teacher came in, right? So a substitute teacher, you're like, well, we're not going to do anything today, right? So that's good. So she's bringing up gender neutral words. And one of the big ones she talked about was radio. So she said, listen to the, because she was a native Spanish speaker, she says, I knew people who said el radio, which has a clunk in the middle of it, el radio. And then people who said la radio. La radio, she says, this flows off of your tongue. And we should use language in a way that is beautiful. La radio. And then even in languages that have like feminine chairs, there are nouns that are gender neutral. What is this? This makes no dang sense. So let's look at the origin. Where does this stuff even come from? Before I do, let me check comments here. So I'll drop over to TikTok. So Donnie Boy, hopefully you're now seeing, yeah, objects have gender, at least in language, right? Matt brings up, in romantic languages and even in English, we call ships she. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'm going to return to that one. And Donnie Boy, yeah, random stuff like aprons or cheese. I don't know the words in French, but yes, there are languages with grammatical gender. And hopefully I've already demonstrated this. Latin has a ton of gender words for things, and that is the basis for most of the European languages, not all. Because like I said, there are Uralic languages like Hungarian and Finnish that do not have any pronouns. They have a pronoun, literally a pronoun. So let me look in YouTube. Okay, so here, so Margie is saying there are no pronomial genders. Everyone is they. Right. Like why, it makes a certain amount of sense. Oh, Nijo says, sorry, she's late. Hi. Nijo, by the way, you asked me, when am I going to get back to you? I swear I'm going to get back to you this weekend. I promise. So, all right. The origin of gender in language. Many languages actually don't have to worry about this whatsoever. And what's interesting to me, maybe you go, oh, whoop-de shit, Hungarian? How many people are speaking Hungarian? One of those languages is Mandarin Chinese. That's the most spoken language in the world. Think about this. The most spoken language in the world does not put emphasis on gendered pronouns. So it's not language specific. Nouns, when they get given gender, it appears to be like largely random. Some make sense. Look at flower in French, fleur. You look at fleur. You go, well, flowers are pretty, like girls. Flowers could be girls, right? But some make no sense. Chair. Chair in French is always feminine. If you have somebody walk into your house, your medieval French Whatever, medieval French lord, I don't care. Come up with something. Somebody walks in and goes, oh my gosh, what's that? And you go, that's the iron chair of death. The iron chair of death. La chaise de fer de l'amour. It's always feminine. Even if you don't decorate that iron chair of death with flowers. But that would be great, right? You'd put some flowers on your iron chair of death. Somebody comes in, you go, hey, Jim, you want to have a seat? Goes, what is that? Oh, that's my iron chair of death. Well, it's very lovely. Look at the flowers. Have a seat. Okay, sits down. La chaise de fer de l'amour. And then what about words that span genders? Or words that are neutral? It's not in the word. Adjectives. When you have adjectives that are gendered, they are typically gendered, at least in language and grammar, to match the noun. But not always, because they are gender-neutral adjectives, and there are gender-neutral nouns. And this seems pretty close to random as well. When you look at French and Spanish, a lot of French and Spanish maintains the Latin roots. What I mean there is that its roots in Latin as a romantic language. And Latin was both pronominally and grammatically gendered. English, fascinatingly, deteriorated to remove gender from common nouns. There's a word for that that's escaping my mind, but English actually took out the idea of gender in common nouns. In fact, when you look at English, especially in the sciences, because I saw somebody there who said, oh, a Ph.D. must be easy to get. Okay, I guess let's talk when you get one. Thanks, Matt. Matt says the same thing. We even made up words in biology to denote gender, man and woman, right? But stag and doe, bull and cow, why do we do those? Why do we have stag, bull, doe, cow? It's purely to reference breeding, reproduction. It's not aggression, because does and cows can get just as aggressive as a stag or a bull, given the right conditions. It's all about breeding. It's for convenience. And for that matter, convenience to humans. Not the stags, does, bulls, or cows. But now I'm talking about animals, right? So maybe animate objects, it makes more sense, maybe. But if you look at Swahili, here's an interesting point. Swahili has a different gender-neutral third-person singular pronoun. Throw that out there a few times, right? Go to a party and go, did you know Swahili has a different gender-neutral third-person singular pronoun for inanimate objects? And people will go, my gosh, look at the time. I have somewhere else to go. But then you have languages where verbs end up being conjugated or modified based on particles or pronouns, sometimes like particles. For instance, when I was in Thailand recently, I said sawati ka, which is to say, well, sawati apparently is cognate with svasta, if you care, from the Sanskrit meaning to be established in. So it's a way of saying hello, sawati ka. But if I were a boy, I would have said sawati krap. You decide how to say that as you speak it. And so now maybe we go, okay, hang on, now we're getting somewhere. Now we have verbs or pronouns modified to indicate social respect. Now you have nouns that can be modified to refer to sex assigned at birth, including animals that with sexes that you may never strictly determine. You know, if you're looking around, you go, oh my gosh, a snake. You don't go, that's a snake, a boy's snake or a girl snake. And interestingly, in Spanish, both words to talk about snakes are feminine. La serpiente and la culebra, both feminine nouns. So interesting little bit there. But then we have finally actual pronouns. Finally getting to the point here. Actual pronouns gendered to refer to sex assigned at birth. And these are all purely social. So Donnie boy, if you really want to think about this, these are all purely social. How do I know this? Because these words are not based in science. He and she were in use in language, let's say just English, long before anybody sat down to write a stupid executive order, long before in the sciences we knew anything about a zygote, long before we knew the idea of the process of conception long before we knew anything about gametes. They were in use then. They're not based in science. When we use these or not, all we do is choose to respect somebody or not. All right, so let me go to I got one last bit I want to talk about, but let me look at comments. Donny Boy, hopefully that's given you some thought. In French and Spanish, if an object is a receptacle, is attached to or a part of something else, or is somehow subservient, it is generally feminine, otherwise masculine. Interesting point there. So that's not entirely random, certainly. It is invoking some of what ended up informing like Western magical tradition, right? Which I'm actually going to get to. Not really Western magical tradition, but I'll bring it back up, where how these some of this may have come from. But Matt also makes a great point. Stallion, mare, gelding. Gelding is big, right? Bulls can be gelded, and I forget the word for gelded bulls, but gelded horses are called geldings, as opposed to so sterilized stallions are called geldings. Matt, I'm not sure what we're talking about. Matt says it requires sedatives or else you lose a limb. There you go. And yes, agreed. So Matt says that's a heuristic. Agreed that there is a heuristic. I mean, tell me about radio. I don't disagree. There are heuristics. There are many words that that seem very random. And I was just going to leave it at that. You make a great point, and I do want to say that directly. You make a great point. Thanks, Matt. All right, I'm going to come over here. Shakes the Bear says, I'm happy to see Representative McBride taking a firm stand against outward bigotry. She is. She kind of is, She did sort of mumble, thank you, Madam Chairman, Madam Chair. And I know she's taken some heat from that. And I don't, Shakes the Bear says, Yo napot, Igen, Egas Chegedra. I know these words only because, my mother-in-law is Hungarian. And I didn't know, Shakes, that you were a Hungarian-American trans woman. Look at you. Go you. Emily has certainly says, my pronouns is she, her. Sorry, my pronouns are she, her. Some people still calling, saying yes, sir. So let me get to that, okay? Mischief says, I hate being called Mr. It's silly. Amy, asking me, oof. I cannot talk, apparently. Am I a miss or a Mrs. or a Ms.? I like... One thing that's nice about having gone to graduate school is I can actually just ditch that altogether. I was thinking about that, because if I were in Congress, if somebody said, well, we're going to talk to the representative from wherever I am, I would ask them to use Dr. Herrick. I would just ditch it altogether. Doesn't sound... I'm not answering your question. I definitely identify as a woman. And if somebody were going to use my name like that, I would choose Mrs. or possibly Ms. I've had people use mix on me, and I went, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's a thought. But you got a point, Mr. Sheaf. It just doesn't sound as good. Let's see. Nijo says she wants to make an iron chair of death out of gold. Call it the throne of God. I was going to look up throne in French just for chuckles and see, throne of death was what I wanted to use. But I didn't end up getting there. Is it feminine? Is it masculine? I don't know. I don't speak French, so I'm throwing it away. The idea, Nijo says, is that no one may sit on it, and trying to sit on it won't be a fun time. You make it out of gold or you make it out of iron, I don't think it's going to be a fun time for anybody. There you go. All right. Nijo also asks, on the topic of pronouns, can we ban all pronouns? I mean, all of them, like all 100 plus of them. I would not mind that. That's not a horrible idea. All right, let me see. Let me run down to. So the way this go, Buster Cherry says instant no. Oh, Buster Cherry. Let me tell you, just from your name, Buster Cherry, believe me, you'd be an instant no as well. Thanks. When we talk about pronouns, when we talk about names, in pronominally gendered languages, the speaker makes a choice. And it's the speaker. This is not based in science. This is not precise. This is not something handed down in a book from on high. Although, as a quick aside, Hebrew, from which Kabbalah, meaning Hermetic Kabbalah, meaning Western magical tradition, which is also quite gendered. Hebrew is a very highly gendered language. Sort of interesting because every noun, every verb, every adjective is gendered based on what it refers to, and it's like, whew. But Hebrew also barely uses vowels, so you got to use some interpretation to know what the word is. To return to the point, when we use language, we have a choice. Names also are pronouns. Names are personal pronouns, proper pronouns. Names, interestingly, in most languages typically have a grammar all to themselves because it depends with apostrophes. There are grammatical constructs around many proper nouns, personal pronouns. But here's the thing. If I walk up to you and I call you Dave, because I just can't be troubled to ask you your real name, that's simply disrespectful. If I walk up to Tim French, if I walk up to Keith Self, if I walk up to Nancy Mace, and I say, I'm just going to call you Dave, they're going to go, I have a name. I know you have a name, but I don't give a fuck. It's simply disrespectful. And it makes no difference if you're a conservative, if you're a liberal. Chances are good if you walk up to somebody for the first time, you're going to ask them for a name. Because a name falls under standard rules of etiquette. It falls under the social, I don't want to call them rules, but they fall under social norms of etiquette. And what we're looking at here are politicians playing this game about third-person singular pronouns in English. All right? Let's think about that. There are so many languages. Whether they're used now, whether they're dead, it doesn't make a difference. There are so many languages. If we restrict this even to English, there are so many nouns, so many adjectives, so many verbs. And we are worried about literally 8 words in the entire English language. Ready? She, her, hers, herself. He, him, his, himself. We're done. That's it. 8 words in the entire English language. All of 8 of these words, they refer to animate objects. And maybe you go, well, they need to be precise. As Matt brought up, what about ships? We usually call those she. What about my car, which I call she? What about my bike, which I call she? What about my snake, which I chose not to try to figure out? Because it's a snake and I don't really want to pick it up. At the end of the day, this game that we are playing is simply about respect. If you can be bothered to ask for somebody's name, you can be bothered to ask for their preferred pronouns. And if you can't be bothered to use a person's preferred pronouns, all you've proved is you are disrespectful, you are lazy. You haven't scored a political victory. You've mangled language to make what is a very, very, very weak political point. Now, obviously, the 2 politicians I mentioned are well aware of the importance of gendered pronouns. Both of them want to be referred to as they know they are. Tim French said, I have preferred pronouns. Keith Self flinched at Madam Chair. They want to be referred to the person they know they are, but they want to restrict that ability from everybody else. What the hell? What a useless waste of our time and our government and our species. My name is Amethysta. My pronouns are she, her. End of story. All right. And that's it. That was all I had to say. I can't believe that was still 30 minutes. I'm really sort of surprised because all I did was talk about language. But I do love this kind of crap. It's so much fun. All right, I'm going to look at some comments here. Yeah, mix always sounds, Matt Adeline says, mix always sounds like they're referring to a DJ when they say it out loud. I know. Mix Amethysta was once called Mix Amy, I think. And I was like, cool. I love it. Rick says, I'm going to assume he, so we'll see. Rick says, I wouldn't care. I was married for 20 years and I answer to a lot of these nags. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, good on you. Finally, Matt says it's just virtue signaling. It doesn't make any point. And unfortunately, it's virtue signaling in the form of disrespect and laziness. Are these virtues? I mean, sloth doesn't sound like one, right? I seem to remember that's one of the 7 deadly sins, and yet here we are. Doesn't make sense. Let's move on from there. All right, let me see. We've got on the... So Nichos brings up let me see. All, another, any, anybody, anyone, anything, everybody, everyone. So some of these, I mean, these are pronouns, obviously, but I don't know. See, those are gender neutral. Does it make a difference? Nijo then says, let's ban names too. I'm going to go with you on that. And then goes on to say, I'm starting to think all those people getting upset about pronouns were just really bad at English in school. Yeah. They, them, and theirs. Of course, there's them, self, their self, but those are gender neutral. And so, if we used those, we take gender out of it. All right. Mischief has said, if she doesn't know somebody's name, I just say, hello, ducky. That works. I'd run with that. In fact, actually, I might just go, you know what? I'm not going to tell you my name. Can you just call me Ducky for the rest of my life? There you go. Matt Adlin brings up the point that this is specifically costly virtue signaling because it immediately undermines your own seriousness. And I agree. I mean, you don't make a point. You don't make any good point. The only thing you do is you say, listen, I want to be an asshole. I mean, because the thing is here, like when Sarah McBride said Madam Chair, I'm going to go on record. That was just her being an asshole. It was her being an asshole because there was somebody who was already an asshole to her. I mean, all we're just going to fight back by like showing conservatives, you care about these things. Why can I not care about these things? I think it's important just to go, listen, this is a piece of language that you don't run. There's no value in like trying to make this some sort of a political statement. El Tiger 33 apparently has worms. I'm gonna recommend you go to the urgent care, I think, for that. I'm not that kind of doctor. Forgive me. All right. So Margie says she used the name Richmond for everyone in her 2022 monologue because there are too many names in the world, and then chose the pronoun you there. That's not bad. Yeah, I was hanging out with you there. People go, I wasn't over there. No, not you there. I mean, you there. I mean Richmond, Margie. Never mind. Why don't you have a seat? I've got my iron chair of death over there. La chaise de fer de l'amour. Have a seat. It's lovely. It's got some flowers on it. Put some flowers in your hair. Hair, which is masculine. So there you go. Even on a woman, masculine hair. No. All right. So Mischief says here in the UK, Richmond is sausages. I don't know if that's supposed to say something there, but Margie says partly she chose Richmond because it's a family name and a place name, but almost never a given name. That's a good point. Kind of like that. Huh. Nijo says when somebody asks for your name, panic. Like, here you go. Here's a strategy. Panic. Just go, oh shit, I forgot. Hang on, I've got to go sit down. Never mind, all I see is the iron chair of death. I'll keep standing, not worth it. Margie says, yeah, in ADHD, I forget my name all the time. There you go. So Mischief, I can see, what I can see in Parliament. Like somebody going, they go, oh, we recognize, the venerable, Baron von Schmutzflonger. And he gets up and goes, "Hello, Ducky. Right. I'm going to talk about laws here. So give yourself some fun, have some fun in Parliament." So, all right, what else do we have here? So, costly virtue signaling. I've already mentioned that bit. So Nija then says, Nijo says she had a concussion once. And they asked when I was born, and she was like, February 11th, 1990, I think, because she forgot the year. Yeah, give yourself another 20 years, sugar, sweetheart. Because people go, "How old are you?" And I go, "So 50, I keep on thinking I'm 52 because that was when I started transition, but it's been close to 3 years." And I'm like, I thought it was still 52. Anyway, so if you want to, if you want to talk about something, drop some comments down there in the little chat log here. It'll be fun to talk about some of these. I think, let me see, what else do I have here? Cool. Nothing else that I see in. Oh my gosh, was that really a good accent? I'm not confident about that, but thank you nonetheless. It's funny, I just got an email that says "Eges Shagedra," right? Just, if I go and get myself some chasarkerta, then we can say "Eges Shagedra," and it'll be fun. I have a terrible accent for Hungarian. It's kind of funny. Here's a stupid story. My wife's first language is Hungarian, and for a while in there, I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna learn how to speak Hungarian," right? It is remarkably complicated, really, really complicated. I'm like, what in the wow? Because you get words that are like 30 some odd syllables. It's tough. My point being here is that there were times over the course of the past almost 25 years we've been together that I've said something in Hungarian, and almost, almost invariably she goes, "What?" And I repeated, and she goes, "What?" And I go, "This is the first language you learned, right?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, I guess." And I'm like, "Gosh, my accent that bad?" So, I just don't expect you to say it. Okay. I mean, good point, So, Trigger, thank you for following me. I appreciate that. Margie has said she is either 1, 17, 33, or 54, depending on which social construct for age you employ. It's a good point. And that is a social construct, right? Because, why are years necessarily an important thing? Years were important for early humans. They had to care about what point they were in the year they were in, so that they go, "Well, I'm going to plant now, I'm going to harvest now." But otherwise, what good did it do them? And actually, there was a point I wanted to bring up. It was kind of interesting too. As I was thinking about this, we make Mischief asks the question: if you're Hungarian, how do you say you're hungry? I don't know. "Ya tiene hambre." I don't remember. So something I was thinking about because talking about does and stags and geldings, stallions, mares, geldings, we don't make birth certificates for animals, and it's kind of crazy. Nobody has come in here and said, "Hey, do you have a pet? What do you call your pet? He or she?" Well, what if she doesn't like it? Yeah, I mean, if my cat came up to me and went, "Mom, I jumped down from the iron chair of death to tell you I'd like to be referred to as he," I would sit there for a second and I go, "Done." Do you see how hard that was? You can ask and you can be respectful. That was my point. My point was, we don't have birth certificates for animals, but we have them for humans. So snakes, there aren't people right now. There isn't somebody in Congress, Keith Self, sitting there going, "What are we gonna do about the snakes? What are we gonna do? We got snakes out there being called he when they're really she's, and she's when they're really he. Oh, the humanity. Why? What in the, oh my gosh." So We don't care about that. We only care about it now because there's some useless waste of time for our government. It's ridiculous. The other point that I was thinking about as I was taking a shower, Latin, right? Latin, because maybe you go, well, we came from, English is a romantic language, like the Holy Roman Empire. It's Christian. Should come from, we've got our holy book that says he and she, and that's the way it works. Latin, the language of Rome, where not really that long ago, cishet relationships were not only disfavored, but less frequent. You're pretty much, either you slept with a man because it was more pleasurable, or you slept with a woman when you wanted to make a kid, and that's about it. So it's fascinating to me to think that you've got Latin, which is a very highly gendered language, but I think it was highly gendered because, Matt, I'm gonna talk for a sec on that. But if you look at Latin, the Romans, they might have gendered all these things because it was important to them, because they don't want to be, they didn't want to be with people of their opposite gender. They didn't want to have relationships with them. It was less fulfilling to them. So you can't possibly say that it has to come, that this all has to do with Christianity or religion or whatever. It just has to do with being lazy and disrespectful. So Matt brings up the point that English is Germanic and not romantic. It's an excellent point. Obviously, English is derived from the language of the Angles, also called the Saxons. But I'll also make the point that, the Britons, with an O there, the Britons who were ended up pushed off into Wales, both by the Romans and the Angles as they came in, the Saxons as they came in, mixed together a lot. And so Gaelic languages mixed into that as well. Gaelic language is also not romantic, so an interesting tidbit. But here's a fascinating point. Insular Gaelic, so Irish Gaelic. This is kind of an interesting bit. Insular Gaelic, because it hasn't been affected by Romans. The Romans didn't go and conquer Ireland. Only England did. Anyway, there were probably Irish people out there going, "Yeah, mate, way to go." I do a horrible Irish accent. So, the hell was I going to say? Oh, so anyway, Insular Irish. Here's the thing. Oh, hey, Ash. Ash 23 is here. Hi, Ash. So Insular Irish, the same word that's used for wisdom, wid, excuse me, in Irish, it's a root, which can be found in words like druid, like knowledge of the oaks, is also found in Sanskrit, vid, like vidya or Vedas. So interesting little tidbit there that you have the same roots, and this is a Proto-Indo-European language. And so, Matt, that was partly where I was going to go. English from the Angles is influenced very heavily by Proto-Indo-European languages. So Proto-Indo-European language, thought to have originated in part in like steppes in Russia, but called Proto-Indo-European because it spanned from literally the Indian subcontinent through Europe over to Ireland. So kind of a crazy thing there. Yeah. Let me take a drink after that really amazing piece of knowledge that you will never put to use, even at a party. And if somebody asks, it's like, so here we go. So Nijo, are you quoting, is this from The Jerk? What do you call your pet, he or she? Shithead? Why? Is that it? Mischief asks the question, can cats talk in America? Babe, when I've smoked or drunk enough, oh heck yeah. My cat talks to me. She talks to me quite a bit. All right, Shakes the Bear brings up my mother, trying to teach her I think them. Shakes, remind me, forgive me if I forgot. brings up teaching them the Hungarian alphabet. There were entire letters and syllables. She goes, I don't remember that one. Nobody uses them anyways. Yeah, I found that fascinating. I'm trying to remember the letter. I'm trying to remember it, but that's a fascinating point that the Hungarian alphabet has a letter that's used in like 2 words total, and you go, huh? Why do we have that? Isn't that weird? Here we go. Margie says she's descended from Picts. Maybe why you enjoy making illustrations. Do you also enjoy painting your face blue? Just a curie. Just asking for a friend. Mischief says her nan spoke Welsh. I wish I could say something in Welsh other than like Innis Avallach, but that's about it. Mara Starling would be turning over in her not grave. And actually Jenna Tellendrew, because it's Innis Avallon, not Avallach, was a king, I believe, a Welsh king. So, all right. Why are we bringing this up? That it was Pi Day recently. It was Pi Day recently. It's still Pi Day if you round up. Yeah, and I had nothing to do with that. All right. No, Matt, my cat does not tell me to burn things. Not often. I mean, often, most of what she says to me, she comes up to me and says, "I really need wet food. Really, really need wet food." And then the other really like emphatic thing that she says is, "It appears I can see the bottom of my food bowl," and that is a problem. In fact, actually, she's petitioned Donald Trump to write an executive order outlawing the bottoms of food bowls. She's hoping this is going to get through, but unfortunately, Trump keeps calling her he, and I don't know why. We ended up thinking about, finding an iron chair of death and, sending it off to perhaps the White House. But, oh my gosh. All right, Margie, I got it. Proto-Indo-European is typically abbreviated as PIE or Pi. So yes, Pi languages, Pi roots. If you want a little tidbit here, by the way, the word for gender, specifically in English, it's believed to have come from Proto-Indo-European, star Gene, and I don't know how you pronounce that in a Proto-Indo-European accent, but that particular root, because Proto-Indo-European is kind of thought to be a language, but certainly not one for which we have direct literature, I believe. Obviously, we have ways of tracing words, like, the 2 words for wisdom, both in Irish and in Sanskrit and Hindi at this point. But, I don't believe, and somebody can correct me if you want, if I'm wrong, I don't believe we have direct literary evidence of Proto-Indo-European language. But still, anyway, Pi. Mischief says you saw that pie thing. I'm a saucy old fox. I have no idea what you're talking about. So Margie also says she's gone to a fetish night in red body paint. Does that count? Yeah. Yeah, I think that counts. I'll take it. I think the Picts also used red at times. Yes, Matt. Matt Adlin says PIE. Pi is reconstructed. Pies are not only, pies are squared. Pi is also reconstructed, yes. And so I don't believe we have any direct literary evidence of it other than to go back with languages we know. So pies are baked. Pies are usually round. I remember when I was a kid, I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 10. My sister was going through geometry. And I remember she was talking to my father and goes, "So is it pi r, is it pi r squared? Is pi r squared?" My dad goes, because he has sighed a lot. I know we all had to sigh. Pi r squared. And I remember going, "What the hell? That's not like a pie, right? I thought pies were round." Anyway, the end of that one. Yeah, pies are so. Matt also says pi is discovered. Pies are worn at times as well. Just saying. Not by me, just mentioning. So, all right. I got 11 minutes here. If at this point I feel like I'm just prattling, because I kind of am. I'm really just sort of prattling. But, oh, here's an interesting point. Oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get rid of my notes. There we go. Move that out of the way. Margie says in Germany, pies are considered cakes. Yeah, you know, isn't that weird? I mean, it's not weird, but it is interesting because if you go to Britain, right, you go, well, what's a cake? Mischief, let's hear, right? A cake. No, it's a cookie, but it's not a cookie, but whatever. So weird. Matt is saying he is not going to make a dirty joke right now. I've already thought about what that dirty joke must have been, and I appreciate you. Well, I don't know. Like, do I appreciate you not using it? It's a little unclear, because I'm okay with it. I would have been like, yeah, right. Margie mentions that I wore the pies well. Thank you. You know, Nijo's here. I put, so like last year there was an actual Pi Day video, right? You can go and look it up. It's Pi Day 2024. It's like a minute and a half because I was trying to get it on Instagram as well. So there was nothing. It was like I walk out the door. Okay, we're done. Get out of here. Couple of jokes, but nothing all that important. And so here today I was like, hey, I'm on no meta properties that have 90-second 90-second limits. So I was like, what I'm going to do is write like a screenplay. I mean, you know, for this stupid video, I wrote a screenplay and I showed it to my friends who made comments. You know, I actually got like this little, ooh, do I have it? Yeah, it's over there. I'm not going to go and get it. But I got this little holder thing for my camera. I ended up spending about 8 hours editing the thing because there were certain bits of footage I missed and then certain bits of footage that I was like, ooh, that's too funny to miss. So I had to throw in there. About 8 hours. It's a 3 minute and 4 second videos. And for the life of me, I was so close. So close. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stick another 10 seconds on this thing so that my Pi Day video can be 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And I held back. I was like, I'll find somewhere, right? I can get 10 seconds out of this, but I didn't. Let it go. For 3 hours, this is a 3 minute video, a 3 hour tour. Yeah. With Gilligan, the Skipper 2, the millionaire and his wife, the movie star, the professor and Marianne, all on Gilligan's Island. I don't think I've seen that show probably more than 40 years. I don't know how the hell I'm remembering that. Weird. So Brittany says, I've got to have a cake day video too. When is cake day? What? Now Margie says I should have a cake day video too. Okay, you tell me when cake day video is, and you never know. For a while in there, we were making jokes about there's a calendar, and here's all the holidays. I'm going to put those in quotation marks because like Pi Day is, you know. But we have a calendar that was like all these crazy holidays, you know. So it's like, well, it's Raspberry Cream Pie Day. Well, that one was a pretty obvious. Yeah, you got to make a video for that. But then some of them were less so. Like there was National Moon Day, but we went, well, let's see if we can make a video about this, right? So anyway, you tell me when there's a day. You send me a message, and I'll figure out a way to. I'll figure out a day to wear some sort of pastry product. Matt is saying that he saw an episode of Gilligan's Island like 15 years ago. God, even 15. Matt also says Gilligan should have eaten the millionaire. I don't know. Didn't make a difference because the money made no difference, right? I did love it though. They always had like a like a shell or something with like a string. And, hey, little buddy, come on by. What? Come on by. What? Come on by. Would you get out of the iron chair of death and come back over here? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Good callback, by the way. I know it. At least I'm amusing myself. Hopefully some of those iron chairs of death or references continue to be funny, because if they don't, I'm sorry. This is the best I got. What is dirty joke number 2? The shell bit? I don't even know. Dirty joke number 2 successfully resisted. Space Foodie has shown up. Space Foodie? Is that like, I'm curious. Because like I once got dehydrated ice cream. My mother got dehydrated ice cream and I loved it. Oh, it was so good. And anyway, so maybe that's a space food. They said, oh yeah, NASA astronauts eat this, in space, which I doubt, sincerely doubt. They're sticking that on the package. Because who's going to check that? Who's going to be like, oh, I'm going to call up the head of NASA. Do you guys send dehydrated ice cream with it? You don't. Oh, false advertising. Nobody's going to care. Anyway, Matt is now saying he'll be making Iron Chair of Death references for weeks now. I think we should. La chaise de fer de l'amour. And the thing is, so again, I don't speak French, but I'm curious, and if anybody out here knows this, because this was something I used Google Translate, like you do, to get this, and it came up with more, M-O-R-T, but there is a feminine version of death, mort. Why did I get the masculine version of death there in Iron Chair of Death? Because would it refer to the chair? So should it be chaise de fer de la mort? I don't know. And somebody with more knowledge of French needs to answer that, not me. That's all I'm going to say. So Matt has said that there should be a cream pie day. I think every day is cream pie. Wouldn't the defer... it's F-E-R. I don't know how well I'm saying that. Defer. The iron chair of killing. So it's the defer, I believe, is the iron. Not I believe, is the iron. So like you have, iron in the periodic table is Fe, coming from words that aren't used in English, but except for like ferric, right? Ferric, ferrous, referring to oxidation states of iron. Again, like you do. So Matt has said, I'm telling my girlfriend, someone with a Ph.D. told me that every day should be cream pie day. You let me know what she says, because I have the feeling she's going to end up going, oh, I'm going after her. God damn her. All right. So actually, Margie's saying l'amour is correct. All right. Isn't there a version with an E on the end? Or is that an adjective? So is more the verb, and then like mort would be deathly or something? I have no idea. All right. This is why I don't speak French. I took Spanish though, because I grew up in Los Angeles. And I thought, well, if I'm here in Los Angeles, I am absolutely, going to need to know Spanish. And then I moved away from Los Angeles when I was 18. I came back for 4 years and that's it. Otherwise, I've been gone. I have lived outside of Southern California less than I've lived in Southern California, although you can still hear the R. I forget who it was that was like, yeah, you and your California R. You can still hear that, but I haven't lived there for a while. All right. I'm right at an hour here. Hopefully this was a nice departure from some of the, oh no. So here we go. So now Margie's telling me what this is. Enfer de train la François. Oh my gosh. Elle est morte. Oh, okay. So it is an adjective. Well, in that case, that'd be an adverb, I guess. She is dead. Anyway, here's the point. Thank you so much for all of this. I have been summoned. That took me way too long to figure out how to spell. By Matt. Space Foodie, thank you, because it did give me the chance to talk about NASA and dehydrated ice cream, which is extremely important, at least to me. Oh, Margie, you may have grown up speaking French, right? But it was like Quebecois French. Is that different from like say Parisian French? French? I'm asking that question, and I've probably just lost at least a few people in Canada who are like, oh, that's it, I'm done. All right, I am going to cut this short. Thank you so much. I've got Nijo and Margie and Matt, Mischief, Brittany. Brittany, good. I'm glad to see you again here. Shakes the Bear. Margie. We also have Emily. Thank you so much. Oh, dang. I can't go back all the way. I know I also saw Erica and Louise. And if I'm missing Genevieve, and if I'm missing somebody, I'm sorry, but I'm glad all of you are here. Space Foodie, thank you so much. Matt, thank you again for moderating. Of course, I truly appreciate it. Patty Woo, I hope you're still here. Thank you, Patty. And Ash, and even Donnie Boy. All right, that's it. I don't know if I'm going to be here next week. I'm going to a cool conference, a pagan conference up in Minnesota. My friend Morgan and I are going to drive our way up to Minnesota here from Colorado. So I don't know if I'm going to be here, but, somebody was saying, well, you ought to just do the live stream from like this conference. And I was like, that might be cool. Yeah, Matt, it's Paganicon 2025. So, anyway, my point was going to be that, somebody told me, oh, just do the thing, like walk around and just be like, hold a microphone. It's, hello, how are you doing? Are you pagan? Stupid questions. Here, have a seat. No. It's the iron chair of death. Don't worry about it. Of death, yes. No, made out of iron. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Done. Anyway, point being that I may or may not be here. We'll see if I am, but if I am or if I am not, thank you again. As always, I'm trying to find the camera. As always, thank you so much. And should I come up with a catchphrase there? I don't know. Talk soon. Bye.